What's going to happen? Pat Rabbitte says 20 billion, the first 20 billion of the money you draw down from the IMF is going to go into the black hole that is the Irish banks. Is that true?
The Irish banks is not a black hole. We need a functioning banking system, and money needs to be put into those so that lending can begin again. We've got to ensure, Richard, that will happen. That must be
but Minister, at the beginning of this interview, you told me you didn't know how much the banks need. So why would you start putting in 20 without knowing where this ends?
If it's a contingency,
shouldn't you restructure first?
Richard, if it's a contingency fund, then it'll be drawn on as required. And in some cases, it may be after restructuring has taken place. But it may be that it would be required to get liquidity back into the banks and flowing Richard, to give credit to SMEs and others.
After failing, Richard, to supervise the regulation of the banks, this government failed to act between the collapse of Northern Rock and 12 months later, the 28th of September.
Stay with the present, Pat, because we're running out of time very quickly. But we're running out of time very quickly.
Hold on, Pat. You ought to be ashamed to show your face in this studio after what you have brought our country to penury tonight and the damage that you have done to people's livelihoods and start the young people immigrating again. You have destroyed this economy and you engaged in lies over the weekend. You denied it. And then you went on to pretend that it's Ireland coming to the rescue of Europe. It's about time you went, because you can do no more damage to this country. And coming on here with your old palaver about this and that and structuring and all, you didn't do anything to avoid the crisis that was coming down the tracks at us. You maintained property-based tax incentives until you inflated the bubble that has brought us to the stage we're in. And now you come out here saying somehow this is someone else's fault, not our fault. It's the fault of the Irish government, and you ought to be ashamed of where you have brought us tonight.
No, I'm not ashamed.
Well, you ought to be. That's the problem with you.
Pat,
you're not ashamed. You don't have any shame.
Pat, let him respond.
Deputy Rabbitte, I went into politics for the sake of making some contribution to this great country of ours. I didn't go into politics, nor I think did most of either your colleagues or mine, to bring down this Irish state.
But that's what you've done. That's what you've done. You brought us to ruin. No, you had the opportunities to take some actions and you didn't take them.
If you listened to Professor Kinsella earlier on, he said if the right measures are taken now, in the next 3 to 4 years, it will be possible for this economy to get back to the state that it was in prior to this particular crisis. I take no satisfaction whatsoever in seeing what has happened. I guarantee you I don't. But my determination, and the determination of this government, Pat, is to make sure that we can chart a way out of this particular crisis. We will play our part, and we will suffer the consequences if needs be. I'm not here to take a lecture from you.
There isn't anybody.
You listen for a change.
Pat, there isn't anybody in the country who thinks that you're going to lead us out of anything. You have led us into the mess.
We're not going to walk away from our responsibility. I guarantee you we have no intention of walking away from our responsibility. Professor Kinsella have just said that your 6 billion cuts is going to make it worse. Everything that you have done, what are you saying?
Every step, Pat, that you have done has made it worse. Every figure that you have announced, you have made it worse.
No, they haven't.
There is no confidence in this country, in this government, and I really find it, like most Irish people, I find it unbelievable that the people who have done this to us, that has brought the country to this crisis in terms of unemployment, in terms of cuts now going to be inflicted on the poorest and most vulnerable in our society, that you can go on offering a face that says we're the leadership. I get no satisfaction. I am like most people. I am crushed by what you have done. I didn't believe that it could come to this. But now we're handing over our decision-making for the next 3 to 5 years to outsiders. And a new government is going to find itself in a straitjacket because of the decisions you've made.
And we will hand over, whenever that time comes, to the next government, and we'll see then whether there's going to be any particular changes. I would remind you.
Let's not start it again.
Hold on, I'm not. I didn't start this.